Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight. I want to tell you how important it is to have people in the community let us know their views so we can act as best we can to really fill the needs of the community. I'm County Supervisor McPherson, and I'm really pleased to see the turnout tonight for one of the most complex problems that I've ever faced in my political career. And it's just not here, it's everywhere. And everywhere I've gone throughout the state, I've seen this, and so we need to address it. And we probably have some different needs and issues that we need to address than other communities, but with you here and the input you're going to give us, it's going to help us to get to the right solutions, I think. Really homelessness affects everyone, or not everyone, it affects every community in the state of California. So we really have a role to play, and it has to be a cooperative role involving social services, law enforcement, education, and the business community too, how we can respond. We know that there's a lot of contributing factors, and some of those will be discussed tonight, of course. Depression, unemployment, poverty, low wages, lack of mental health facilities, which we do not have enough of in Santa Cruz County. Lack of affordable housing, which has become a more dynamic issue in Santa Cruz County. You've probably read about the complex situations that we have here, people being able to afford a house of any size. But we're trying to maybe address that in kind of a different level. And we also know that the community at large has suffered from property crime and some personal crimes too, discarded needles. What we have, we cannot emphasize enough here in our San Rosa Valley the concern about the danger of fires that we've seen from other communities throughout the state. And we've had some close calls here, but we've had really great responses, and we've been able to really prevent a disaster like we've heard about in some other parts of the community. So we organized tonight to hear your questions and your concerns about the impacts of the broader community. And each one of you will have some story to tell or some concerns to express, but we're here to listen, and we really want to provide information to you because we are addressing this in some ways in Santa Cruz County, and we want to let you know about that. We are in a position to do some things that we haven't before because we've got a substantial grant from the state, as have counties through the 58 counties throughout the state. Our county has $10 million, but we have to address it and spend it quickly, which it's a good thing. I mean, we don't want to study this ethics upon us, and we want to get at it as quickly as we can. We also want to hear about an exciting new program called the Downtown Streets Program that has been in effect in the city of Santa Cruz for some time, but we're going to see it come into the Felton area in the next couple of weeks, and you'll hear more about that in just a moment. And their motto is ending homelessness through dignity at work. People work and they feel like they're producing something, they feel better about themselves, and they want to really work with the community. We recognize that. And I know that some of you are eager to ask questions and comments, so here's what we're planning tonight. We're going to have some presentations. We're going to start with the law enforcement perspective. Sergeant Jason Dunn, who's based in the Felton substation that we got in place about, 5 years ago. And we'll talk about some of the enforcement challenges. These will each take about 5 to 10 minutes. Then we'll hear from our county's homeless services coordinator, Randy Marr, about some of the options under consideration and how to address this homeless situation. Then we'll have some folks from 2 local organizations, Roxanne Moore and Paul Magnus from the Mountain Community Resources, and Ellen Maruska from the Felton Presbyterian Church, who will talk about the services that they're offering. Our last speaker will be Brooke Newton from the Downtown Streets team, and she will talk about the Felton team and introduce you to some of their members. Then we'll open it after we get those presentations so you can see kind of a basis of how we're trying to operate this situation as best we can through the various perspectives and interests that we have to do this. Then we'll leave it to questions, and that'll probably be about 45 minutes. And Because we want to have a respectful dialogue tonight, I'll ask that you keep your comments respectful and questions, and I think you will. And I'll also ask you to, when you ask me the question, to limit it to 1 minute. I know you have a lot of stories and background, and you can take 5 minutes to ask the question you want, but we want to get to the questions and answers as quickly as we can. And if there are some questions that you have that are not unable, you didn't get the answer to, write them down, and we'll have some blue cards that we'll pass around. So we can ask my 2 staff members over here, J.M. Brown, who is walking over here, and Jenny Johnson, who is out in the front welcoming you. They'll be happy to get your cards, and if we can't answer those questions tonight, we'll get back an answer to you, because that's what you want. I think you want to know what we're doing and how we're going to try to address this, but I think we're going to get some great ideas for what you have too. But at first we're going to go, and also in the back, Christina from County Public Works is, we stopped at her table back here to hear more about zero waste, which is a very important factor in Santa Cruz County and everywhere else for that matter. So we do appreciate that. Jenny Johnson just walked in the door back there. So we're going to have these short 5 or 10 minute presentations from the various folks that I mentioned, and we'll open that with Sergeant Jason Dunn, who was headquartered in the Felton office. Sergeant.
Thank you, and thanks, Chris. Thank you for everybody coming out here tonight. This is pretty cool. And honestly, this is the reason why I asked for this position at the Service Center. Sheriff Hart asked me in an interview not too long ago what I want to do with my career path when I got promoted. And I told him that, hey, I want to get promoted, but eventually what I want to do is I want to end up at the SLV Service Center. And he kind of looked at me like cross-eyed, and I said, no, I really mean it. I've grown up here, I've lived here my whole life, I live here now, I have a couple kids in school, and so I want to be a conduit for everybody in this room to address the needs of the community and help out the best that I can. I'm not going to have the answers to everything, I'm not going to be able to fix everything, but my door is always open for anybody to come in and address problems or have questions. I want a community-based sense policing in the San Lorenzo Valley. I want to be your guys' voice, and I truly mean that. So I'm right here, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. My door's open, so come on in and say hi if you need to. So tonight, what I've been asked to do is talk about homelessness in Felton. And I'm aware of it. I don't think it's out of hand personally, but I do know that there are concerns, and there's certain things that we do absolutely need to address. I went back and I pulled stats for January from the Sheriff's Office, and I just want to give you guys a little bit of an overview of what the crime trends are in Felton primarily. I didn't pull it for Ben Lomond or Boulder Creek, but I can tell you that property crimes are down from January, and violent crimes are also down, which I think is good, and hopefully it trends that way through the summer. It generally doesn't do that, but let's cross our fingers and hope that that's happening. Secondly, what I want to talk about is Measure G that just got passed, and what that did is it allocated funds for a new program which is called the FIT team. And the FIT team is a focused intervention team. And what that's comprised of is it's the Sheriff's Office is heading it up along with social services and the jail. It consists of a sergeant and 2 deputies. And their job is to basically get information from other law enforcement agencies, including our own, crime offenders who have been arrested multiple times, and they need help but refuse to get help. And this is kind of a way to force them to get help, in a sense. There are certain criteria that a person has to meet in able to be eligible for the FIT team. You have to have 3 police contacts in the past 90 days. You have to have 1 recent arrest, and you have a tendency to be violent or aggressive in public. I've already seen this work. The first referral that I provided to the sergeant in control of the FIT team was a gentleman in Boulder Creek who was basically a menace. He was transient. He needs mental health help, was not receiving it. We got him hooked up with the FIT team, and now he's being provided services. Second case I can speak about is one that just happened last Thursday. There was a gentleman in Felton on the corner of 9 and Empire Grade. He was causing disturbance. It seemed like that he was frightening the public and maybe some kids that were on the street corner. We went out and arrested him. He's now involved in the 15 and is still in custody, where he is going to be provided resources and possibly housing. A couple of things after, kind of the goal is with the 15 is after somebody's incarcerated is to provide them with resources and what's happening. So they can, housing is a tough issue in this county. So what they do is they look for shelter beds for these people, and then if they qualify for it, would be like a treatment program in residential facility care. So I think that's awesome for this county. It's a great resource for me when I have to deal with a problem that's happening all the time. I can get a referral into that team, and they act on it pretty quick. The problem is there's about 30, the cap's about 30 people, so I think we're already almost at that point right now. So, you know, as the needs grow, maybe the team will grow. I'm not sure of the forecast of that, but I can only talk about what's going on now, and I think it's an absolute positive for the community. The challenge with homeless is that I think there's sometimes a preconceived idea is that the sheriff's office can go in and just move people out of the area, and we can't do that. If a person's homeless, they still have constitutional rights, and they have a right to be places. Private property is an exception, and there's things to work around that we can do, but there are people that at times can cause problems in society, and that's our job is to try to address those. The one thing I also want to convey too is that if there's things that are going on, we need to know about it. I'm finding it, we had a meeting last night in Boulder Creek, and I'm not going to speak for this group, but it seems like a lot of the people use social media to report things amongst certain groups in Facebook and Nextdoor and things of that nature. But that's not necessarily going to get to the sheriff's office, to the place where it's our job to try to fix those things. And so I just encourage everybody to use us and call us when needed. And we can tell you, yes, we can help, or no, we can't help, or thanks for calling, and what have you. So basically, and also too, what I wanted to tell everybody is that if you don't get your question answered tonight, feel free to please stop by my office, and I will answer any question that anybody has as best as I can. Thank you.
We'll have Brady Marr, our Homeless Services Director from the county, the CAO's office. Thanks, Brady.
So sometimes I wonder why I chose this job, because it's probably the hardest one I could possibly have chosen, but it's a really rewarding job as well, so I have to say that. Homelessness is a problem that is afflicting not just Felton, but all of Santa Cruz County, parts of it much more than others. Many communities across the state, especially the West Coast, is deeply impacted by homelessness, and it has many, many faces, and so there are a myriad of reasons why people become homeless, and therefore there are a myriad of solutions for those people to get them out of homelessness. And one of the things that I do is work with the various cities and jurisdictions, all of the various nonprofit providers, to try to implement new solutions, to bring in funding for implementing the ideas that we have locally. And so most recently, some of the work that I've been doing is on, for example, making sure we have a winter shelter program, which we have over on 7th Avenue at the VFW Hall. We have a winter shelter program down in Watsonville, and we just opened a new shelter program on Laurel Street in downtown Santa Cruz, which is for families and single women and people who have disabilities, such as being in a wheelchair that may have mobility challenges. So in addition to that, working on the state funding, so there's a tremendous amount of funding that just got released in 2 communities across the state, and it's called the Homeless Emergency Assistance Program. Our community is getting $9.7 million of that, and we believe that's going to be really impactful, and it will enable us to bring on more emergency shelter, provide immediate solutions like showers and hygiene services and food, and provide additional rental assistance and things that prevent homelessness in the first place. McPherson mentioned that we only have 2 years to spend the money, and that sounds like it would not be hard to spend, $9.7 million in 2 years. But the community is a really integral part of that solution, because in order to provide the services, we have to have places to provide the services. And community is a big part of what we can and can't do. What are people willing to accept in their communities? And I think that the problem, when I've talked with law enforcement about the homeless issue here in Felton specifically, I hear that it's not at that crisis level that you see in Santa Cruz or other parts of Watsonville, but it's growing. And so I think it's time that this community begins to consider what are the solutions that we want and we need, what level of services are needed here in San Lorenzo Valley. We don't have a dedicated shelter. Is it time to have one? I work with the faith community, and we're developing solutions like safe parking programs where families or vulnerable older adults, for example, can sleep in their cars and stay overnight in the church parking lots and have access to bathrooms. Or a rotating shelter. There's a woman here I spoke with who is part of the original Interfaith Satellite Program, which is a shelter program that rotates between churches. Each night the church takes 20 people in and provides them a safe place to sleep. So there's a lot of ways to partner. There's government-run programs, there's nonprofit-run programs, there's faith community-led programs, and there are just grassroots efforts where people are providing services and stuff like that of the kindness of their heart. There's a tremendous amount of that in this community. And finding the right solution for this community is going to be a matter of us listening to hear what are the problems that you're having here, and then understanding what is your willingness and receptivity to the solutions that are out there. I think one of the challenges that we face is we're asked to do something, but not here, right? Anywhere but here, but here is everywhere, right? So if we can't do anything anywhere, we can't really do anything. And that's a real conundrum when we have money to spend, services that need to be delivered, people who need them, and we need community support for that. So I think that's part of the conversation we hope to have and continue to have is how do we hear from you what you need, how do we provide what your community needs, what the homeless population needs, because solving this problem will lead to a healthier community for everyone involved. My work is just tremendously complex, working with a lot of different stakeholders on a wide variety of issues. Right up ahead of us this Friday, we have the deadline, and all of the various agencies in the community are going to be applying for this large amount of funding, doing, a wide range of things, emergency shelter, immediate needs. There's some places are going to want to remodel and put in more showers or expand their sheltering operations. But I haven't worked very closely with this community, and I think that there's an interest at this point to really think about what can we do next and what can we do here. So I'm really here to listen and learn about your community, about your challenges and your concerns and your needs, and I, like the sheriff's deputy here, my door is open and I'll give my card out and folks can talk to me and ask me questions, and I also may not have the answers, but I do try really hard to get them. So thank you.
Community Resources, Roxanne Moore, Executive Director, and Paul Macklis are going to share the mic. You want to come out and tell your story?
Hi, so my name is Roxanne. I'm the Program Manager at Mountain Community Resources. If you don't know who we are, we're across the street. We have a big red heart on our building. So Mountain Community Resources is a family resource center. We're part of Community Bridges, which maybe you've heard of. It's one of the larger nonprofits in the county. And we don't do homeless services per se. We are not funded to do any type of homeless services, but we do homeless services every day, just because that's what's needed. On our last count, we served almost 500 individuals last year, and 16% of them identified as being homeless. I would say realistically, probably a lot more of those people are homeless, but don't think of it that way. So what do we do with homeless people right now? We have a food distribution program, which Paul's going to tell you more about it. That's probably the main thing that we do to try to support people experiencing homelessness. And we try to do all the drop-in services that we can. Folks can come use a computer. We have advocates there that can help them fill out a job application or a social security benefits application or help them get a cell phone or anything we can kind of cobble together and someone's willing to work with. We, try to sit down with them and make that happen. We collect people's mail. We kind of just do whatever we can. And it's super challenging. We definitely feel the effects of why you need a housing first approach to really do anything for people. And so, what I want to tell you? So moving forward, a lot of us are talking about, what we're going to do with this funding that's coming down and how we're going to respond to this crisis. And, like Deputy Sergeant Dunn and Ray said, we are planning on applying for some of that money, and we're looking at building our facilities, and we're looking at hiring more people, and I'm definitely open to hearing your suggestions and what you think would have the greatest impact. Some of the ideas that we're floating around at the center are to create like an overnight parking facility. There's going to be a lot of barriers perhaps, but that's one idea. We're also looking at maybe creating showers and laundry facilities and a locker, like a safe place people can lock their belongings. So we're looking at a lot of things, and we don't have a big turnaround, but if you're always welcome to come and talk to me about what you think is best. And then I wanted to make sure you got a chance to hear from Paul, who is a volunteer, one of our dedicated volunteers who works in a program that feeds about 200 people every week. So.
Well, I just wanted to add to what Roxanne said, is that the advocates, the four employees there at MCR, as she said, they'll help people with whatever might help them, whether they are housed or not. And that could include getting CalFresh, which we used to call food stamps, which could be very important, and also health insurance, and also referrals to low-cost or free dental services, vision care, things like this. So even though there's not a dedicated program just for homeless services, most of the things they do could be very helpful. I wish the food pantry helped our homeless population better, but the kind of food that we and Valley Churches and the 3 distributions in Scotts Valley give out tend to want storage, refrigeration, and cooking, any of which could be a problem if you're sleeping out or in your car. We do our best to give out ready-to-eat food, and Second Harvest Food Bank, which is where we get most of our food, is, I think maybe tomorrow we'll get a delivery, or very soon, of ready-to-eat food that would be more appropriate for our homeless clients. Roxanne shared with me some statistics about the clients for MCR generally, and they match up exactly with the statistics for our food distribution. And I think they're telling because, I'll just say that 70% of the people who come for those services or for the food distribution have an income of up to $12,000 a year for a single person. $16,000 for 2 people, $20,000 for 3 people, etc. Another 30% are in a slightly higher income category, which goes from $12,000 to $24,000 per year for a person. And so there may, as Roxanne said, it may be more than 16% homeless, and there's probably a percentage of people who are not homeless who are very vulnerable if there's an expensive car repair or a medical emergency. Many of our senior clients at the food pantry, I know, own their homes, but as those of you who are homeowners know, that can be a very expensive thing, and if you're on Social Security, you may not be able to do the repairs or handle the property taxes and such. So for me, it was very revealing to look at those income figures for the people who come to MCR and to the pantry. Thanks.
Before I introduce our next speaker, I'd like to introduce Elisa Benson from the County Administrative Officer, Executive Deputy our assistant director, I guess is the right title. So we are very serious about this. It's a big issue that we want to face as a county as a whole. It's the most, I think, the most complex and pressing problem we have here. The next speaker will be Brooke Newman, the Director of Program and Program Participants Downtown Streets Team. You're going to be here, but you're going to have some other team members too come up? Is that right? Oh, just Ellen, okay. Oh, Ellen? Okay, Ellen. Excuse me. Ellen Maruska, so excuse me.
I'm going off the paperwork. I'm not as prepared as the others. Hi, my name is Ellen, and I know a few of you that are here tonight. I attend and serve at Felton Presbyterian Church on Highway 9. You know us, a church with a basketball hoop, a church where you may have learned to drive the family car, or taught your kids to drive the family car in the parking lot, a church with the flea markets, and trunk or treat at Halloween. You might drop your kids off at the bus stop there. Some of y'all pick up your Gray Bears grocery bags there. And it's where you might get a cup of coffee during the Felton Remembrance Parade on Memorial Day weekend. And that's just the parking lot. There are movie nights in the summer. Kids gather for Kids Club on Wednesdays. Scouts meet there. Some of you donate blood to the Red Cross there. Sometimes important community meetings are held there. You might have seen the trains there this year. Oh yeah, we have Sunday services too. The church where there's free lunch Tuesday and Christian servants to serve you. The church where as Christians we follow God's teaching in the Bible, where in the Old Testament God tells us to take care of the poor and to not make things worse for them. And in the New Testament Jesus tells us that to serve Him we must help the poor. More than a dozen years ago, Felton Presbyterian Church leadership and people in our congregation stepped out in faith to serve the poor in our community by providing a free meal each Tuesday at noon. Valley Churches United has been financially generous to the ministry, helping the ministry not only keep open doors open, as they like to say, but to grow, even in a not at all financially wealthy and fairly small membership church. In addition, a shower ministry was started. On Tuesday, 8 people may take a shower at our church. Others may sign up on Tuesday for a shower on Friday. Members of our church family and some people from other churches greet and have Christian fellowship with 20 to 35 people each week, preparing and serving the meal, checking in on prayer requests, and forming friendships. Others serve by washing the towels. About 80% of the lunchers are people who are homeless or nearly homeless. Personally, I graduated from San Lorenzo Valley High School in 1975. I've reconnected with 2 or 3 people from my high school years through this ministry who are now homeless. Many of the people that I've met who are homeless are my age. Some are young, many of their stories are heartbreaking, many are heartwarming. We laugh and love a lot on Tuesdays at church. In the years we have served, some have accepted Christ as their Savior. I know their physical lives can be hard, really hard. When they make the decision to ask Christ into their heart and to follow Him, only then their spiritual life, their eternal life, their important life is guaranteed, and heaven will be as perfect for them as it will be for me, and can be for you too. Our church family and our community have quietly, often anonymously, donated soap, towels, socks, warm clothes, charts, and other items. Other Christian churches in the county have brought warm jackets and clothing donations throughout the years. People from Mountain Community Resources have directed food donations to the ministry, and recently this small town church recently connected this small town church with the world famous sock company Bombas. For every pair of socks that Bombas sells, the company donates a pair. It's amazing that they found Free Lunch Tuesday to be a recipient. Nob Hill and Safeway in Scotts Valley donate baked goods every week. What we can't use each week goes to Valley Churches United. This is a small and very important ministry. A small set of people serve God by serving the people that He loves, and we love them too.
The oversight now from downtown Santa Cruz. Brooke Newman, Director and Program Participants, will join us up here.
I'm the project manager for Downtown Streets team. These are
are some of my team members. Team manager Dave, 2 of my team leaders, Joyful and Rena. You'll be seeing Rena because we're going to be launching up here in about 2 weeks. We're going to be going to the covered bridge area. Let me tell you a little bit about downtown street scene before I talk about this. So we are a volunteer work experience program for people who are experiencing homelessness, at risk of homelessness. Essentially, folks who are experiencing homelessness can volunteer 4 hours a day, up to 20 hours a week, beautifying their community. So they go out, pick up trash, and then they receive basic needs stipends in exchange for their volunteer service. They also get to work with case managers and employment specialists to help them navigate towards their goals. The goals that they choose that are important for them, not the ones that we choose for them. That can be housing, that can be a job, that can be reconnecting with family, getting to college, getting an ID, phones, everything that, people need to get reestablished and recover from homelessness. We're there to help them. They give their 100%, we give our 100%. So we're set up like a 40-hour work week. They're volunteering 20 hours a day and the other 20 hours working towards those goals with staff or others. We've already met with Paul and Roxanne. When we launch up here, we're going to have some staff members. They've opened up their resources to us so we can have staff in there also helping folks find jobs, connecting with businesses that are local, helping them navigate towards whatever their goals are. And our team members who are going to be up here doing the beautification work, cleaning up the trash, are also going to be performing peer-to-peer outreach. So they're going to be talking to the folks in Felton who are experiencing homelessness, tell them about Downtown Streets team, finding out what their goals are, finding out what they're interested in working towards, and connecting them with us. I'm sure there's lots of questions which we can talk about later, but I wanted Joyful, I wanted you to hear from one of our team members, his experience, just to give you a little idea. So Joyful.
Mr. McPherson, and may it please this assembly, here we have a people, abandoned, abused, distrusted, and misunderstood. Here we have a people who many would say are less than ordinary. Yet these same people overcome obstacles and hardships that the ordinary person can barely imagine. And the fact that they do this every single day, day after day after day, is nothing less than extraordinary. Here we have a people whose greatest difficulty is that they're deeply misunderstood and sadly undervalued. To understand us, however, to value us, you need to understand us. And to understand us, it must be recognized that we are disabled. In my nearly 20 years of being homeless, I have met many hundreds of homeless people. And aside from the unfortunate fact of being homeless, we all share one thing in common. Our brains need wheelchairs. Our bodies may be strong and able, but often we cannot do the simple things required to help us maintain a household. Enter Downtown Streets team. Here we have a people who understand that we are broken. Here we have a people who know that we have value. And they share this value that they hold for us, with us. They know that with just a little bit of help, we can not only help ourselves, but help the entire community. They help us to value ourselves. And it is because they understand that they can do this. I, for one, am deeply grateful for the Downtown Streets team, because they are the wheelchair that my brain needs. I have a disability that is invisible. She can see it. And I am eternally grateful for the fact that from now on, because of Downtown Streets team, I am going to be okay. And I heartily encourage each and every one of you to reach out to us. Not just those of us on the Downtown Streets team, but those of us who you see wandering around. We need help. And it's not because we are lazy. It's not because we are evil. It's because we're broken. And we greatly appreciate every single bit of support you can give us, and every single bit of support you can give to the Downtown Streets team. Thank you.
And I just wanted to add to that. You got a job, right? For how long has it been?
I had a job for 8 months. I think it was 8 months, 9 months, something like that. I was a host at the River Street Campground.
And how long had it been before then that you had a jobby job?
I have not had a job until that one, this entire millennium.
So that's what we're here to do. We're trying to help folks navigate to the places that they want to be. The old adage of get a job is not real. Folks don't have IDs, they don't have phones, they don't have all the tools, showers, access to things that are necessary to work, access to the help that they need, access to the services they need, and that's what we're here to do. We just started our 13th community in Modesto. We are an evidence-based program. We are helping people. If you look at our numbers, they may look small, and that's because they are real. We work with each individual at a time. Like everybody else here, I'm happy to take your phone calls, come to my office. We'll be up here. We'll have open office hours. And we'll be here to answer questions. My staff is here, my team is here, so feel free. Thank you.
It's been really impressive what's been going on in Santa Cruz, especially now we're spreading it up here to the valley, so I'm really, really excited about it. Now there's some time we want to have for you to ask questions. And probably the best way to do would be you could just direct them to who you want to ask it to, and then please ask the question within 1 minute. Don't go on a 5-minute diatribe about one thing or another, but then I'll just, excuse my pointing, but then I'll point to someone or the other, and please direct your question to someone. I'm sure you have plenty of them. But we wanted to give you a general outline of the situation that we're in now, what we have some possibilities to do some things to address this issue. It's huge. It's not going to be resolved in 3 months or 3 years maybe, I don't know, but it's going to be a long haul where we have to all work together to get it done. Anybody have some questions? Okay, we're back over here. Excuse me, I'll just point and then go from there. And then address it to somebody or other.
Yeah, I'm not sure who would answer this, but are there shelter beds in San Lorenzo Valley right now?
To my knowledge, there are none unless they're,
You might stand up there.
sorry. I am not aware of any, certainly
Are there plans to maybe?
Sure, we want to outreach to every section of the county that we can. What we need to do is get some people who have some good ideas. I mean, really faith-based communities is one, and some of the nonprofit agencies and so forth are obviously that have already contributed in some respect. But if you, maybe we should give a number. If you have any ideas, that's what we'd like to get. If you have some suggestions or offerings that you would like to do, contact us. What would be the right number for?
Maybe my email would be ideal.
Email?
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, come on, please.
I can give you both, but phone number is 454-3411, and email is rayne.marr@santacruzcounty.us, and I'm the homeless services coordinator. So I do work on shelter expansions and looking at, bringing on new shelter programs. So if there's an identified need in this community and folks want that, I would be happy to work with the community and Supervisor McPherson's office on trying to roll something out.
With that follow-up with Brooke, do you have a phone number? You had said, maybe they can hear you, but you know.
Yes.
This is for the downtown streets?
Thank you. So my phone number is 831-713-3708. And it's Brooke, BROOKE, @streetsteam.org. And I will get back to you. Leave me a message, shoot me an email. You will hear back from me.
Okay, thank you, Brooke. I'm going to start here then. Next question. Oh, yes, back here.
So I'm actually a new business owner.
Everybody hear her question?
Yeah,
Just
I'll
stand up.
I'm a new business owner here. I actually have taken over the Tomboy Outpost, and on February 2nd, I had a young boy try to break into my business while I was playing store. It was my first day, and I was super excited, and he tried to break into my store. And I know he was drug induced. You may have asked this or answered this question earlier about the drug use. Is there anything that's going to be done about that? Because honestly, I know he was under the influence. And it was a pretty traumatic experience because like I said, I just took over this business. So I don't know, or if there's maybe like patrolling officers coming up and down the Highway 9, or maybe even some extra lights, or always having lights on the tree, because I noticed that it is really dark here on Highway 9, and we want to have events and community events for everybody here. So yeah, that was my question basically.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to get all those bullet points in my answer, but yeah, as far as drug programs, I don't know who the individual was, so I can't really speak on the circumstances of what was going on with him, but I can say that he may qualify for the 15, maybe not, I'm not sure. As far as what we can do in law enforcement, obviously call, we respond, find him, and we'll evaluate and go through whatever it is that we need to do to address this problem for you. And as far as extra patrols, things like that, absolutely, but I need to know.
I emailed you actually because I didn't know that the meeting was going to be here. I thought it was at the sheriff's office, so I actually emailed you. So yeah, I would.
Okay.
I just did it today. No, I just did it today, so that's probably why you didn't get it.
Your email,
Sure. In 1 second. But yeah, we can absolutely do that for you, but I need to be in the know so I can coordinate all that. That's my job, to make sure that you guys get catered to and we provide the best service we possibly can for you.
Sure.
I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah.
But why don't you come down and meet with me and we can talk about things personally, and I can give you some better directives
Thank you.
in my office. My email is Jason, JASON, .Dunn, DUNN, @SantaCruzCounty.us.
thank you.
And for those of you who signed in, we will give these phone numbers and email addresses, we'll email them to you. So if you want to get them, probably, Jenny Johnson's waving this back here. If you haven't signed in, do so. So if you do sign in, then we can get these numbers and contact information to you. And before I'm coming to you, but Anybody else? Oh, yes, sir, right here.
Yeah, is there any resources for helping private property owners clean up from homeless people being on their property? We probably have 200 to 300 cubic yards of trash on our property right now. And it's, for us, it's impossible, to clean.
Yeah, so I will give you my card after, we can talk about it. Right now, so we're funded in part with the county through Public Works and through the CalFresh Employment Training Program. And so we actually were just talking today about our scope, and it's on county property, but we can discuss, where you may fit in there. And we're just going to be starting, so it'll be interesting to see where boundaries lay. But we're always willing to collaborate and figure things out. So yes, definitely reach out.
I have a blue card here and have the sergeant done. And by the way, I'm really pleased that through the last 5 years or so, we've been able to have a substation in Felton. There's one up in Boulder Creek now. So we've had it at both ends of the valley, so to speak, on the Highway 9 corridor. And we think that's been very well received, but we can get response to you, they can get response to you more quickly because we have the substation. I really want to thank Sheriff Hart and the sergeant and all the officers in the Sheriff's Department for, they're really enthusiastic, and at each station, as you heard from Sergeant Dunn, there are San Lorenzo Valley graduates and, they're local community members.
There's a lot of questions in this question. So we'll start with number one. What are property owners' rights and procedures to eliminate homeless? This is a very broad question. I better answer it if I knew the circumstances. However, I can tell you in general that private property is private property. And if you would like to effect trespassing, you can call the sheriff's office and effect trespassing. You still have rights as property owners and landowners to control your property. So I hope that answers that question. And then it asks about squatters on private property versus squatters' rights to stay on private property. Squatters could be more of a general term of somebody that has residency or tenancy on someone's property, meaning they've been there for a certain amount of days, months, years on someone's property, and they've actually established a home. So I don't really know the circumstances of this person's question, but that could get a little more tricky if I'm reading the question correctly. What exactly is the county doing to lower barriers to private property owners to accommodate additional housing? I can't answer that. I have no idea. That's pretty over my pay scale. Let's see. Preserving and protecting landowners and landlord rights to remove a problem. Borders, tenants, is if the unfortunate need arises. Well, if we're talking about tenants, there's a civil procedure that everybody needs to follow in the state of California. You need to evict somebody that has tenancy or residency in your house, and the sheriff's office has a civil division that can answer all of your questions very thoroughly, a lot better than I can. It's quite the process, and I hope I answered that correctly. If not, come see me.
Thank you. On some of the housing issues with the county, we're not going to be able to build our way out of this homeless situation per se, but there are some things that we have done. There's been an accessory dwelling unit, or referred to as ADUs, that you've heard about, and we have waived the fees of the County Board of Supervisors, which amounts to $5,000 to $10,000 probably per unit. Those are up to 640, maybe 860 square feet that you can add on to your existing dwelling unit without adding a septic tank or parking space sometimes. So we're trying to make it more affordable to have these built. And we are getting a coordinated effort now that's underway. It's not complete yet between the Public Works Department, the Planning Department, and Environmental Health. So you could somebody that wants to build something can come in and have a one-stop station. And this is the target. We've been trying to do this for years, but we think we're going to really accomplish this. So you can come up and be told, this is what you have to do, and this is probably how much it's going to cost, and fees and so forth. Then there's a density bonus that we have said we want to, that's being put in place. Say you have an acre, or you could have 10 units. Well, if they're all affordable units, you can probably have 12 or 15 or something. It's called the density bonus. So those are a few of the things that, as a county, just within the last 6 months or so, or certainly a year, that we have done, so more people, more housing units can be built in Santa Cruz County, and hopefully get through some of the, the process, so you can know what you have to do, and if you want to do it, go ahead and do it, and with less fees and the ability to build more units possibly. And boy, believe me, the housing situation has been here. I've been here all my life. And up until a couple of years ago, it was, hey, don't build it, they won't come, kind of a mentality. Now it's, we need more housing, and we need it built right away, and usually it's anywhere but nowhere, by me, as one of the speakers said. So it's a complex situation, but we were trying to make some avenues available so people can build more housing, affordable housing in Santa Cruz County. Yes, ma'am?
Who would we speak to if we had ideas along those lines?
I think, well, you could, we have a housing coordinator, probably Julie Conway would be the right person. I don't, she's in the planning department. I don't know her phone number offhand. But Julie Conway in the planning department? Oh, you do? She knows her number.
454-5162. Julie Conway.
Thank you.
Everybody get that? Everybody need to know that number? Okay, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Hi. What is the plan with the campers and setting up tents? I'm directed to the sergeant. Who are camping now on Mount Herman. We can actually see the tents from the road. We've had 2 fires that we know of started below the houses up there on the Gadsden Road. And what's the plan for the people that are darting back and forth the road and all the garbage bags and all the other stuff that's piling up on Mount Herman?
So as far as the camp go, that was one thing that I just got this position mid-January. I got cleared from procedure that I had, so I've been kind of playing catch up a little bit as far as property-wise and the problems going on. And just so everybody realizes is that the homeless issue is just one of the issues that I have to deal with. I have my plate's full with problem houses in people's neighborhoods and generators running all night long, and drug houses and parking issues and things like that that I need to kind of triage and try to accommodate everybody that I possibly can. A couple of weeks ago, me and a deputy that was more familiar with the area, we walked around in those areas and we identified the people that were staying there. That was step one. We walked across the street and we went into the property that you were just talking about, and I got the back history of that and learned about a couple of fires, warming fires that maybe got out of hand. And the homeowners up in that neighborhood were very concerned about it, rightfully so. So we didn't see anybody, there wasn't any camps that were established on that side of the road. There was lots of trash, but like you said. But on the other side behind Safeway, there are some camps there. So one of my goals is to identify, is that A, county property, or B, is it Caltrans? I know it's not Mount Herman because we've already met with them. And their fence line into the Felton Fair property is their property. The stuff on the outside where the camps are at is most likely, I can look at the GIS, the zoning for the property owners, but I think it's county property. And if that's the case, then I have some strategies that I'm going to affect eventually. It just hasn't happened right away.
There are new tents on the other side, not on the Felton Fair side, but the other side.
Okay, I was just there 2 weeks ago, there was 0.
Yeah.
So they must have just popped up.
And are you the new contact there, Sheriff's Department now?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the Felton Service Center.
Right here, corner Zion.
I called a meeting just recently too with all the fire chiefs we have 4 fire districts, of course, up in the valley, and CAL FIRE, County Fire, to have them get together and coordinate with one another about not allowing campfires to be, unless they're designated spots where they're supposed to be or they're allowed, that they won't allow campfires. cars. It's one down by Paradise Park, we had the fire that didn't get away from us, thank heavens. It was held to, I think, by 8 acres. But somebody said, one of the, I think it was some state, or Cal Fire said, you know how much that cost us to put it out? And thank God they did quickly. Somebody said, oh, a couple $100,000. No, it was $1.8 million to put that out. So we want to get ahead of those things and not allow it to happen. I mean, obviously, the people camping outside are in need of warmth sometimes, but the dangers that it poses on everybody else in the valley and throughout the community, we have to keep a real close eye on that, and we are really getting a coordinated effort together with the fire districts to just keep an eye on it for that, and to see where the campers are, just to let them know that you know, this is not allowed in here, and if it gets away from us, it's going to really destroy a lot of properties in the valley. Yes, sir.
My question goes back to the drugs with the younger kids, and I don't know who this would be directed to. The cycle somehow needs to get broken. When some of these kids go into Janus, get caught, they're making better contacts and then put right back out onto the streets, and the cycle doesn't break. Personally, I have friends that are going through, have been through Janus. They're more comfortable doing what they're doing with the drugs, and then they resort to needing more drugs, so then they start to burglarize. So it's a cycle that we all need to somehow get through. Brooke, I really hope, and I'm really looking forward to your team. I hope your people can really help. And it's the youth that we need to get to. The homeless with the older people, yeah, we need to figure out how to help them too. But it's the drugs that we need to somehow, how to get under hand, because the treatments and the facilities that we have in place, they're not working.
Yeah, that's part of this new team that we have from Measure G, the sales tax measure that was just passed, to get a coordinated effort between law enforcement and behavioral sciences, so we can not just have the wheel turn and put them in jail for 24 or 72 hours and come in and go out. I mean, this is the youth as well as adults, but to try to get them some treatment and stability. And it's going to take more than 3 or 4 days, and we have so much facility, as the sergeant mentioned. We have a max of 30 right now that we can really handle, and we're right there at that already, and there's many more out there that need of that. But we're trying to address that as best we can with the funding that we have, and to concentrate our efforts so when we have somebody, we can try to get them stabilized, possibly into some housing, but that's a real huge challenge, as you can understand. I think everybody can understand. So we are looking at, we're taking a different approach to this. This is not an arrest syndrome. This is a let's help you syndrome. And it's, I think we're gonna just have to wait and see the results because we just put it in place. But I think it's much better than we've had going on before. And believe me, law enforcement is behind this as much as anybody in the health services agency or as anybody. They want to see this. They don't want to see repeat offenders over and over again. Yes, ma'am?
Picking up on what this gentleman said, are there any plans to fund more longer-term recovery programs? Because 30-day programs, it's what insurance will pay for, it's what Medi-Cal will pay for, but it doesn't work if it's more than just the drugs. There's other reasons why people are using, right? You've got to be able to get at the underlying thing, and going in for 30 days and coming out into the same community where you're all around all the same people. So the only ones I've seen work are the more long-term programs that are year-long, and you're residential, and you're working really hard so you can break those habits and those behaviors and learn positive ways of dealing with it.
I guess the best I can say, we're doing the best we can with what we have and the funding we have. And it just goes so far. I mean, this would have to be something that the health services agency, maybe all our health services directly could answer in more detail on it. We can, but we're looking at it. And there are new programs coming out. It's going to take state and federal support too. And believe me, we're reaching out to get every bit of funding that we can in this regard. You are correct. It takes more than a week or a couple of weeks. People need to have that stability, and it's we don't have it. I would love to have it, but we don't have that right now. We're stretching it the best we can. I can assure you of that. Yes, ma'am.
The U.S. governmental census states that it's the transitional youth that's the #1 problem for homeless. Is that what's seen in Santa Cruz County, or the 17 to 27-year-olds? That transition, not only from the foster care, and as soon as they're no longer making money off of these foster children, they're dumped out on the streets. So the program in Santa Cruz is being...
I know that there's a coordinated effort going on in the county through some different agencies, and I'll have to mention this, that the foster care program is phenomenal. And these people are angels that take these foster kids in. It's just phenomenal what they do. And if you don't believe it, go to one of their meetings or events sometime. It's just a fantastic story. So there are some really good things happening, but there's so much more to do. But if you have something...
So the transition age youth are 18 to 24-year-olds, and they make up about 25% of our homeless population in this community, so it's a pretty substantial issue here. We actually have nationwide the largest percentage of unsheltered transitional age youth in this community. 98% of our transitional age youth do not have shelter, and so we actually were very successful as a community in applying for a special grant from the federal government. It's called the Youth Homeless Demonstration Project. Only one of 10 communities from across the nation were selected to get this. It's a $2.2 million grant, and we are in the process of implementing new programs using that funding. So we have a rapid rehousing program for youth, a permanent supportive housing program. There's a youth outreach team called Whiteheart that's a collaboration between the Community Action Board and the County Office of Education, and they're reaching out to at-risk youth and doing a lot of homeless prevention activities. There's a lot more to it. There's a drop-in center that's planned. We're looking for a site for that drop-in center, but there's a lot more need, and out of that 9.7 or $10 million I spoke of earlier, 15% of that has been set aside specifically for youth. The state required a minimum of 5%, but we're putting 15% towards that. So yes, it's a very big issue. If they have a unique set of needs and solutions that are appropriate for them, they often will not seek shelter at places where they're adult, possibly an abusing parent or drug-using colleague or other friend or someone they know. They will not go where those folks will be, so they really do need their own services. So that's something that's happening, and if you have any special interest in it, please feel free to call me. I can tell you more.
Yes, sir.
When you spoke with the fire departments in CAL FIRE, was there any talk of money for field equipment?
Well, that's actually, I was just up in Sacramento with, I'm on the executive board of this county state board of supervisors association. We're talking about a resiliency model, about how to reduce the fuel. That's one of the key components of this. That's a statewide bond, and that's when who knows if it'll ever get on the ballot or something like that. The fire officials throughout the state are very concerned about it. You come into some real challenges, geography, environmental concerns of how much you can take out, and not to degrade your resources that you have. So as you can imagine, it's complicated. The fire agencies throughout the state are discussing this in earnest right now, and yes, and we are here in this region too. We don't have the answer of how to go about it because there are some, you have to be concerned about some the preservation of some natural resources and habitat in this process. That's a big issue that needs to be addressed, and how do you conform that throughout the state of California is a huge question, but probably different needs in different areas. It's a point of discussion is what I can tell you, a serious point of discussion right now. That's about as well as I can answer that at this point. Yes, ma'am?
Getting back to the FIT program, when somebody, since that is not a voluntary but a legal issue that they've been cited, arrested, where are they housed while they're going through the program? And if they are being housed in jail or prison, what's the what's the possibility that the state and mental health facilities, institutions will be brought back for people like that aren't necessarily criminal, but are exhibiting criminal behavior because of mental illness?
Okay, well, the people that are on the fit team that do get arrested or incarcerated in our jail, there's a specific pod that they're all in. And I don't know exactly which one it is, but they're all in together. And secondly, as far as the programs and resources that they get, it's an individual basis. I can tell you that one of the people that I just talked to the sergeant about this morning was in a shelter that they had him housed in. Another one was one of the mental health places on El Dorado down in Santa Cruz. So as far as the statewide, I can't comment on that. I have, I can let Bruce McPherson speak on that, but I don't know that. But I can tell you that there's several different programs, and it tries to conform to the needs of the individual person and not just as a group as a whole. So if a person has schizophrenia and they're using methamphetamine, they'll doctor the treatment that way. If the person's an alcoholic and they keep their arresting for drunk in public, then they'll steer their efforts in a different direction. Does that answer your question?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're just starting this, and thank you for those who supported that measure, because we think this is a different approach that's been tried some other places very successfully, and it's not an arrest mentality, it's a behavioral health assistance type of approach we want to take. We want these people to get better, and so they contribute to our community and our society. We don't want to keep them in jail. We want to help them as much as we can. That's the whole theme of this whole process that we're trying to put in place now in Santa Cruz County. Yes, sir?
Yeah, back to the housing issue. My general question is, how much coordination is there we're talking the county tonight here, but we're really talking about unincorporated county. We're not talking about the city of Santa Cruz. How much communication is there from the county to the city in reference to the housing? The county's done a really good job of cutting fees and trying to get rid of some of the bureaucracy. The city of Santa Cruz has not done a whole lot. A permit fee to get an ADU, it can access over $30,000. We're not going to get housing that way.
Yeah, I guess I can say that the county, we have no problems of our own, no concerns of our own, but so we're just trying to take care of that. We can't impose on them what processes they should go through. I think, hopefully, that I think we're on the right track, and I think when we show that this works very well, they'll follow. And I feel good that we're in a leadership position in that. And in one of the counties throughout the state, too, we're ahead of the curve, I'd say, overall. So I feel really good about that. And we're really excited. And this goes back to really a strategic plan that we put in place that includes every subject matter under county jurisdiction, the housing and this whole homeless situation and how we can assist others most effectively. It's really brought the whole county government structure together to have this mentality that we can work together and we can get more done that way. So I can just speak for ourselves. We can't impose our regulations on the cities, the 4 cities in the county, and I think you understand that well, but we're going to try to lead by example. And it's too early to tell how successful it's going to be, but I feel really positive about it.
Well, that brought to mind, in San Jose, they are doing this tiny house, kind of Home Depot shed, housing, and putting quite a few in an area and letting homeless people use those, and maybe they provide a shower. So, you're right. If you're thinking we're going to have regular housing, in people's houses or an apartment complex, that just kind of blows up my mind. But something like that Home Depot housing, like talk to San Jose, they're working on that right now. Just go simple,
I don't anticipate we can, the county itself can allow us to build ourselves out, but we're going to have a cooperative effort and different approaches, like tough sheds or something of that nature. But this is some of the steps that we have taken that I mentioned to try to address this as quickly as we can. And sometimes that gets into the zoning procedures and it gets more complicated. And you've got environmental review and all, the whole thing. It takes time to implicate or to put those in place sometimes. But we're open to it. And it's something that has been mentioned, but we haven't put it in place yet. But we're going to look at San Jose and other places, what their success stories are too. If they have. Yes.
I was just curious, does anybody have any idea how many people that are homeless in Felton? I mean, do we have, is it 50 people, is it 100, 1,000? I mean, does anybody?
I think countywide we only have the numbers of about 2,000 to 2,200. Is that right? Countywide we don't have we do not have specifically for San Lorenzo Valley, but I think the estimate is at least 2,000 or more, 2,200. We just did another homeless count, so to speak, in January. The last one the year before was 2,200. We won't have the results of this one we just did in January until June, probably.
Well, that's countywide.
Yes. Yeah, countywide.
Does anybody have a sense of how many homeless, someone, you guys are all professionals in this thing.
We said about 60 right now.
60?
That, she said from 60 with the Mountain Resources Center that you deal with here. Yes, ma'am?
So this might be a naive question, but if there's only, let's say 3,000 with a new count, maybe there's 3,000 homeless people in the county, how come we can't build our way out? There's only 3,000 units that would need to be
Well, who's
theoretically
going to build them? I mean, we don't have the resources. The county build them. I know the builders do. It gets into zoning,
so
the whole process. So
it's not numbers, it's other issues.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
I know there was a discussion around the ADUs and bringing in tiny homes and stuff about finding a way to license RVs on private properties for it to increase the number of homes in the county. Has there been any progress with that, with the planning department?
I'm not sure. RV.
Recreation vehicles, things that they have the bathroom, the shower, the whole thing. Yeah, trailers.
The city, I think the city is going to address that Tuesday night, possibly on some of their streets about allowing them in certain streets. We have not come into that at this point yet, and to designate certain areas and streets where they could line up and park in RVs or something of that nature.
Yeah. There was a discussion about it on private property. It was getting them off the street and allowing people who had room for it to get a license to legally, host people on there instead of having them all on the street.
Yeah, to put that in place, the property owner say, yeah, I want this to happen, and come in for probably some type of permit or something. I don't know.
There's nothing available today
in
the county.
I don't know that process. It could be open that you could come to say, I'd like to do this, and if anybody's interested to do this in San Lorenzo Valley, please let me know about it. I'd like to see how we might put this in place.
Well, there's a lot of it in San Lorenzo Valley already, but they're not legal. And that's the problem. And people would like to see it legalized so that at least there's some kind of sanitary facility for them.
Yeah, would the police enforce that or not enforce it or look the other way? Right. If it's the landowner is agreeable to it, I think,
It would be nice if it was in some legal channel you could do it without everyone having to, to do it behind their back or something.
Sarah was asked if I would speak on safe parking. So I mentioned just briefly earlier that we have some community members in the faith community specifically who want to provide safe parking for people who are homeless. The idea is 3 to 5 cars per church per night, and they would provide access to bathrooms or porta potties or key to the building or whatever, depending on the client. So there are also communities where there are parking lots, where there are, larger numbers of RVs or other cars allowed to park. So there's a lot of different models out there, and we at the county are looking into some of those. It's not private property per se, the kind of thing that I can hear what you're asking is we're looking at a kind of broader program that someone who's homeless could enroll in the program and have access to services while they're also having a safe place to be at night. The city is also looking into a safe parking program, which I think is what Supervisor McPherson was referring to. So I'm hearing a different question, but in terms of dealing with the homeless issue, we are looking into more of a programmatic approach to that.
One other portion of that is that we're looking into an overlay process where, especially in the winter months, where hotels aren't filled up so much that the owner of that hotel or property would like to have their rooms available for the season, so to speak, or for some time period. That in the winter, primarily when the tourist season is down and the demand for rooms is down, we're engaging the hotel industry, the tourism industry, to see if there would be some folks that would be willing to do that. And I think we're going to, let me see how that works out. I'm not going to say I don't know what's going to happen. We're addressing it, that's another matter that we're trying to get some more housing availability. But this would be for a specific period, say through November through May or April or something like that. Yes, ma'am?
I'd just like to say, being a property owner up here, I'm sure this is a very great valley. I've lived here my entire life, and there's a lot of good people who want to help the homeless on their property, that own property, that wouldn't mind building small houses that are biodegradable toilets. I mean, it's such a great idea. It needs to be easier for homeowners to be able to do that without jumping through all this red tape. You say you want to help the homeless, that's what we need to do. People in this community, I'm sure there's plenty of people that have land that wouldn't mind helping and setting up little communities. It makes it impossible in Santa Cruz County. The laws need to change for us.
That's been put in place, if people wanted to do it for environmental protection purposes.
I do it right now.
Just a minute. It's 1 acre, these acre parcels that you have to have for a septic tank. We could go through that process. I'm not sure how well received it's going to be in San Lorenzo Valley. I'm not sure. That's what the people wanted, that acre minimum before, for good reason, because they wanted to protect the natural resources of the rivers and whatnot, and the aquifers and all. That'll take some time to get through. I think that is to have the people of the valley accept that. Now that was put in place years ago, but from my offices, I've heard that people want to protect what we have around here, not only in a fire protection sense, but just for the matters.
Absolutely protect the environment. Ask anybody here about Bull Creek.
I know.
I'm into protecting the environment. They make it so you can do that in these tiny houses. There's ways of doing it. It's just more people need to fight for it, I guess. I don't know. I want to help, and I know a lot of people in this valley want to help. It's heartbreaking.
People would like
It's heartbreaking.
to offer their properties, in that regard. That would be a good. Let us know your basic thoughts on that, and how you think that could work.
So again, I'm Elisa Benson, Assistant CAO. I work with Rainy on homelessness. We have talked a little bit with our planning department around that concept of tiny homes. And what they have said is, bring us a proposal and we will try and figure out how to make it work. So if there's anyone who wants to pilot it, please let Rainy and I know, because that's part of it. It's like, we need someone to say, come up, we'll talk about it, we'll figure out how do we get to it, and maybe a pilot, an experiment, we'll have to watch it, be attentive to what the impacts are, but absolutely, if there are people who are willing to try something different, we've gotten a clear signal from our planning department, they're open to looking at it, and we just really need to take the time and go step by step.
I just wanted to add to that too, if that happens, we have many team members who have vouchers ready to go. They have that ticket to get into housing, they just need the housing to go to. So, yes, please.
have 3 acres, and she was the one that said she couldn't come up. Now, that has the disposable, what are you saying?
Biodegradable.
Yes. Then there's a red tag condemned house that has a porta potty right on the creek, where everybody gets their water from the creek. So there's 2 separate issues. So this is a small house, but I would like to see in that proposal that it is environmentally
Oh,
sound.
absolutely, 100%, yeah.
I also just want to mention, an idea that was presented to the Board of Supervisors a little over a year ago that was received pretty positively and was recommended for potentially being implemented in all of the supervisorial districts. It's kind of a tiny village, and it incorporates some of the ideas I've heard here tonight. A piece of property, a lot of tiny houses, they could be the little tiny sheds, or they could be small, custom-built tiny buildings. But it's a simple, transitional, emergency bridge housing kind of solution. It's not a house, it's not a tent, it's something in between. It's a safe place to sleep at night and be out of the weather. And these models are used in lots of other communities very successfully. If there is the need for that, if we have enough homeless people in this community that need that, and if a suitable site could be found, some of the areas that I've seen this implemented are, co-located with a church, for example, where meals or showers can be provided. They're typically staffed with someone, who stays there and works as a case manager. It helps people get, that housing first stability, get employment, and get on their feet. And it's a very successful type of model. So if you guys have an appetite for that type of a solution in this community, we might be able to find a suitable parcel of land somewhere where that can be done. So I just wanted to share that too.
We could have a question up there for somebody. Yes.
I've been other places in California, and the population is not as big as it is in San Francisco right now. And my concern is I have kids, and a lot of areas I can't let the kids go out. I can't let my daughter walk around the dog. And so my concern is, it's good, and I understand that everybody's trying to help homeless, but what about our families that are already here? What can we put in place when our community resources starts bringing a parking lot full of homeless people over there? And now how are we going to walk them from school? So we need to address that.
Yeah, well, when you mentioned, we wouldn't, if we were to put a proposal that has, if we were to put that into our proposal, one of the things we would write into it would be, if we were to put that into a proposal, one thing that we would put into it would be that it would be staffed the whole time, which is also why we would need a considerable amount of funding in order to implement something like that. We wouldn't, we definitely consider our neighbors all the time. We try to have conversations with them. We have an apartment complex right next to us. And it's an ongoing concern, and it's real, but we also have folks that are already sleeping by Felton Covered Bridge every night that aren't necessarily having access to a shower or garbage or storage or a bathroom or anything like that. So that's kind of the way that we're looking at it. But we would definitely have like a security guard or something like that if we decided to go that route.
Yes, we would probably have a couple, 5 or 10 minutes. Go ahead, sir. Thank you for your comment.
If I may address that concern, the more help we are given, the less likely we will be in an undesirable place.
Thank you, sir.
This is backing up to the septic situation with 1 acre requirement for septic tank, is that what I'm hearing? So, and that being a problem with tiny houses or smaller subunits on the property. How does that fit into the federal guidelines that people are allowed to have as many, up to 1 person per 50 square feet in their home, excluding kitchens, bathrooms, and hallways? How does that fit into accommodating one septic tank, accommodating that many people under one roof?
I don't know.
But they can't be in an outhouse, a brand new unit in the back without adding a septic tank.
I don't know. We have, each county and city has its own zoning law, so it would be difficult. I'm not sure exactly what federal law you're speaking about, but one of the the biggest things that a county board of supervisors or city council has oversight of is land use. And so it's pretty set in that that's why communities were established, that they wanted to have to plan their own community. So I don't, you can't simply answer that. I'm not sure that that what the federal government says about how many square feet can be there for that, that doesn't really come into the conversation that we have. There are certain laws, of course, throughout, but we have oversight of what we can do, and so I just don't know how to answer that.
So federal guidelines don't supersede?
Well, they do, but not in land use, in the general parameters of land use and housing, no. That's the local decision. Yes, sir,
Yes. The mayor of Albuquerque, Richard Berry, has come up with a creative solution on how they address the homeless situation. Are you familiar with it all?
No. You have 1 minute to ask the question.
Well, I can give you some information on it later, if you like. He did a talk on TED Talks, and he made a lot of progress there, so you're kind of heading down that same path, but you might get some more ideas from it. It's a 12-minute TED Talk.
I think I'm a little familiar with this, but
Kind of mimic some of
Were you guys done?
That's it.
Okay. Was it Rachel? So that's concerning to me, what you just brought up right there. It doesn't make me feel comfortable. It's my job to make sure that everybody in this room feels like they're protected and safe, whether you are working or if you're homeless. It doesn't matter who you are. So with that, I want to just let you know that we're here to help. So with that being said, if there's a situation that's making you feel uncomfortable, I want you to call us, okay? And we can be the ones to determine whether if it's egregious or it's not, if it's safe or if it's not safe. Let us be the ones, because that's our job and we're the professionals, the ones to, to kind of vet these things. So I don't want you to feel like you can't let us know, because I want you to let us know. If it's an emergency situation, call 911. If it's something that you just want to pass along to us, if you don't think it's that important, 471-1121 is the Sheriff's Office non-emergency line. So if you want to come talk to me, come talk to me. If you want to talk about specific areas or specific people that we want to do it on a one-on-one basis, come see me. Okay?
Can I speak to that? I just checked my phone and I've called that dispatch number 8 times since September. Every time you guys come out, they're courteous, you guys do a great job. I just want to let you know.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll pass it along.
I think Greg was right. A lot of activity in the last 2 months.
Okay.
I don't know what's happened lately, but we've had a lot of transits, and we've had people on our property just 2 days ago.
Okay, come see me. We'll come up with a plan. Okay?
We have one more question here, and we do have to leave that. Go ahead, ma'am.
One of the themes that have constantly been brought up throughout this discussion is sanitation. And I think it's a basic human right to be able to relieve yourself and wash your hands afterwards. In the valley here, there are very few public restrooms. And I feel for the business owners, because we're on septic systems. And so some of them have to get their systems pumped once a week just to provide for their own business. So I can understand why they're not eager to let us all come in. But, we have a home, we live in this valley, but when we go to town, sometimes we gotta go. And there's no place to go. So what I would like to see the county do is provide porta potties with hand washing stations in all of the villages, and perhaps maybe the streets team can help us out with helping to maintain them, because these things get vandalized quite a bit. And that's another reason why people shut down their toilets. So for me, a good start is to provide a way for people to relieve themselves of dignity and be able to wash their hands afterward and go on with their life. That's a
I'm going to wrap this up now, and I just want sincerely thank you for being here, letting us know some of your concerns. And I really do appreciate our panelists who are here to let us know we're doing some things that some of them we can do better, so with your input, I think we're going to get there. And we want to serve this community and to make it as healthy and comfortable and safe as we can. So I really want to thank you for coming out tonight. It's what makes things happen. And again, if you would like to get the numbers, you probably wrote down some of the emails and the numbers, but if you want them, would you sign the clipboard out there so we can send those to you so you can know how to contact some people? Because I think that's one of the biggest issues. People have a question and who do I ask or where can I go? And we want to help you, we want to accommodate that as best we can for you so you can know who to ask and try to get an answer. And then, of course, you can always ask me too, the county supervisor's office, 454-2200. So thank you for coming tonight, for showing your interest. This is a great valley, and we're going to just make it that much better. So with your help,